Welcome back to the channel. Starmer has probably done the most diluted interview yet. A complete disaster as he makes an incredible admission. This is going to leave you speechless. Trust me. He said some crazy things over the last year and a half, but this might just be up there at the very top. As always, guys, we are going to be going through this and see what he has said. But as always, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Don't forget to follow our X profile as well. We are closing on 1,000 followers. Let's get into it. Now, before we, of course, just get into this interview, of course, Starmer is out in South Africa, and always when he's away, we always get revelations with regard to more scandals with inside the Labour Party. Yes, Labour embroidered another housing rail after Defense Secretary John Healey failed to pay council tax on Westminster flat. John Healey did not pay council tax on his central London flat following an administrative error. The Defense Secretary has admitted he underpaid around £1,500 in tax owed to Westminster City Council. A spokesman for Mr. Healey blamed the underpayment on the local authority after it was established he paid only half as much for this tax year. Following new legislation brought in earlier this year, the cabinet minister is supposed to have paid £2,938 in tax to the local authority annually for the flat, which he is understood to use for work. However, he rectified the mistake yesterday only after being contacted by reporters. So, of course, John Healey, the latest, who's sort of being in tax scandal and joins the list of Angela Rayner, and, of course, housing issues, as well as Rosanna Alley, too. So, yeah, interesting indeed. Yet another Labour MP embroiled in a tax and housing row. Now, Starmer has stated the big man has been flexing what he's been doing out in South Africa, whilst this country is quite frankly falling apart and his own party is falling apart. But this might just be one of the most outlandish claims I have ever heard from the Prime Minister, as he said that he claims he has restored trust in politics since becoming the Prime Minister. Keisha, about integrity. You made a promise when you came into Downing Street that you would restore respect to politics. Can you honestly say hand on heart to the British public that your government has done that? Yes, and I'll tell you for why. When I came in, I strengthened the ministerial code. I gave more powers to the independent advisor, and in every case where there's been any issue, my ministers have referred themselves the independent advisor and followed the advice. And you've been in trouble with that independent advisor yourself. You've had to talk about the fact you said you were going to recuse yourself from an appointment, and you didn't. You've had to apologize over freebie scandals. Honestly, do you really think that your government has had more integrity than the last? Well, as I say, I personally strengthened the ministerial code. I gave more powers to the independent advisor. And the difference now is that ministers know that if there's any issue, they must refer themselves in. You don't think you need to be straight with people and you haven't restored the policy. If you remember what happened before, there was no accepting of responsibility by the then prime minister or the government. So you're just slightly less sleazy than the last government. No. It's important we're accountable, and we are accountable. That's why I strengthened the code. Gear has restored trust in politics and becoming the prime minister. How many times has this guy lied? Wait, we literally just covered this story. Absolutely. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. Also on the same day as well, he's currently putting our sort of national security at threat as he, of course, is rubber stamped a giant Chinese embassy to be built in London. We still haven't got to the bottom of the collapsing of the Chinese spy trial either. How many more lies? The upcoming budget breaking their manifesto pledges. But karma is the man who's restored trust in politics. Do me a favor, Kay. Do me a favor. In fact, I'm intrigued now. I want to see what other nonsense he's talking in the rest of this stuff. Every minute that we focus on anything other than cost of living is a wasted minute. We'll get to that one in a minute. But here we go. I wanted to get into this one because I think he's going to have the obsession of Nigel Farage on his mind in this. Let's have a listen. You've been very clear about the threat you see from reform. Some of your MPs have been deeply uncomfortable with some of the language that your party's used this week around immigration. They see the Green Party rising in the polls, and they worry that what you're doing is pushing some Labour voters towards the left. It's really important that we deal with illegal migration, and that means working on law enforcement to stop people getting here in the first place. Returning those who've got no right to be there, and making sure as we haven't lost focus, too concentrated on reform. Lost focus on the Greens this week, that we deal with the factors, the full factors, if you like. That mean people come hit, but look, you challenged me on reform. Just today, we're seeing the sentencing of the ex-leader of reform in Wales, a massive sentence for pro-Russian bribery. Nigel Farage needs to launch an investigation into his party to find out how that ever happened in his party and to see what other links there are between his party and Russia. And that is the difference between the four Labour Party. We lead on these issues. He needs to now open that investigation urgently. And what's he doing with China then? We're waiting for this investigation into your situation with China, man. Man, why does he sound like that? Is it me or is he sounding really freaking weird? I know he doesn't speak well, but my goodness me, what's going on with that audio? Let's have a listen to this one. Prime Minister, it's been a stormy few weeks for your own government back home in the UK. Why have you felt the need to say that you'll face down any potential leadership challenge? Well, it's really important that at all times we keep focused on the cost of living. So what we be focused on potential leadership turns. Well, every minute that we focus on anything other than cost of living is a wasted minute for me, for this government, for the country, while your team focusing on that focus as we go forward. So your own team have been focusing on briefing journalists that you'll face down any leadership challenge. Why has that been their focus? That's why I've been really clear to everyone that we mustn't lose focus on the one thing that matters to families and communities across the country above all else, which is the cost of living. And that's why yesterday I was out announcing the next rollout of free breakfast clubs. It's why we've announced the freeze in prescription charges, keeping the freeze on bus fares, bearing down on the cost of living when it comes to free childcare. 9 months now to 4 years. All these measures are there to alleviate the cost of living and the budget in just a few days. There are 3 principles. The first of which is to further protect our public services. We'll get to the budget. We'll go to the budget in a minute. The fact that your team are bearing down all cost of living and most people watching and listening to this are not going to be that interested in the side discuss. No, they aren't. So why is your team focused on leadership challenges? They want to know is, it suggests that they think you're quite vulnerable. Does it not? I'm focused on what all those watching this wanting to know the answer to, which is, what is the government doing to help me with the cost of living? How are they going to ensure that I can make ends meet? I'm actually quite interested to see what's actually going on to buy. I'm not going to lie. And look, when I was growing up, we couldn't always make ends meet. We sat around the kitchen table and we couldn't pay our bills. I actually personally know what that feels like. And so politics for me is very much about who have you got in your mind's eye when you make your decision. I have in my mind's eye all of your viewers who are struggling with the cost of living, struggling to make ends meet. My job is to build on what we've already done to make sure that they feel better off and better supported. You've been distracted by this as well. I mean, just this week, you had to clarify that you would definitely lead into the next election. Why are you having to clarify that? As I say, I think that every minute we spend on this is a minute waste. So why are your team bringing it up? You keep coming back to me to try to persuade me to waste even more time on something I just don't think is the central issue. We're only talking about it because your team raised it. Yeah, it's classic Army. He doesn't want to talk about it because it's obviously an ongoing issue. Whenever something is actually going to happen or something is an issue, he doesn't want to talk about it. And he's trying to gaslight and deflect it away from him. But I'm interested to know what your thoughts and feelings are after that video. Sorry I had to put you through a good few minutes of karma talking. But either way, what do? Agree with him and his sentiment that he has restored trust in politics once again? Guys, do me a favor. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
This